Welcome to the Rocky Top Rundown. No snazzy intro tonight. Just want to get straight to it. It's been a stormy couple days here in Nashville. I don't know about you, Logan, over in Knoxville, but it has the weather is starting to cool off a little bit, and so it's not a bad day out here. Been a productive weekend. So Logan, how are you doing?
I'm good. Actually got some stuff done. Uh got some stuff done around the house, so got to be a little accomplished today and now just sitting down, have the Netherlands and Japan on for the World Cup just cuz there's not much else going on in the sports world cuz as much as I would like to care about the College World Series in Omaha, if Tennessee's not in it, I don't necessarily care that much. So,
That's fair.
I figured might as well enjoy the sporting event that doesn't come around every year.
True. Remember when we talked about, the two pools of like which pool you would prefer, and I still think I was right in picking the World Cup side. I can't remember what else was there, but I remember picking the World Cup. You picked the other side with all the
I did
American
because
stuff.
because the World Cup has the hockey on it
That's right.
and and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm not picking that because you kept March Madness. That's really why you kept it, but you eliminated the college football playoff and the MLB playoffs and the NBA playoffs.
Well, listen, here's the
So
deal.
really, you weren't right, but
College World Series. Listen, I wish that it lasted till the end of the month, and that Troy would go on a heater, because I would love to get down to visit my wife's family while all this is still going on. But currently, Troy is up 12-8 in the top of the ninth with two on and one out.
it's like
So,
Ole Miss is going home. But
uh,
here's the thing:
I mean, we've
within your
seen
wife's
Ole Miss
family, like
offense in the ninth inning, so don't say that
that's
too soon.
true, but it's like you know what? Are you an Alabama fan or are you a Troy fan? You can't have both.
True, but Alabama got embarrassed the other night or
But
last
but but
night.
yeah, but aren't these the same people that give you crap about Alabama?
Oh
But
yeah,
now they're going to try to support
but
Troy
they're
Normal. See, it don't work that way.
but they're Troy alumni, so it's they get a pass there.
Okay, whatever.
But Logan, with summer heat comes the heat of the recruiting trail and commitments and flips and all of
That
that,
was
and
smooth.
yeah,
Look at that. You're getting good at this.
yeah, and we're in no way, shape, or form are we trying to be recruiting experts, but I do
Because we're
think
not.
that we are not. I do not have the energy to track down high schoolers and college, freshmen and everyone in the portal.
We
Uh,
we will leave that to the great Austin Price, the great Matt
correct.
Ray of On
Yeah.
Three, the great Ryan Callahan of 247. We like
Correct.
to follow those guys because those guys are phenomenal at what they do.
They also get paid very well to do it. We get paid nothing right now.
So like
Maybe
95% of the info we get is because we absolutely listen to what all those guys have to say. Japan just scored in the 88th minute to tie the game. Sorry, that was not what
no,
we're talking about,
you're
but that was a
good.
crazy header.
No, yeah. I mean, we are strictly here to give our opinions on things, mostly because I don't feel like typing on message boards. But don't worry. We will, if this were to ever blow up, we will never put ourselves behind a paywall, and that is no shot at anyone. Just, no need to hold back. If this continues to grow, and
I said, don't
there
let it
is,
spark right there. You'll start something.
do it.
Let it spark right there. You'll start something.
I like what you did there. And so, but we're having a good time. So please make sure you rate, subscribe, share this with friends. Follow us on socials. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. I realized I didn't create a Facebook page for us, so I may do that. Just that way it can gain some steam there. We're on YouTube, and so try to stay active in the comments, and want to have fun, and that's what we're doing. So, with that, Logan, heading into the summer, the looking at the 2027 recruiting class, it was. I don't think it's a stretch to say it was anemic. There were not a ton of commits when you looked at it at the beginning of May, maybe towards the
But
middle of May.
but it's been that way for a lot of teams.
Correct.
Like
Correct.
Alabama's rated really low. Like there's a lot of
Right.
high level teams.
Yes.
Like not everybody's Texas A&M with five stars in the middle of
Correct.
summer right now.
Correct. And even then, like the final rankings haven't been released, so maybe some of those 5 star dropped to 4 stars. Tennessee knows about that very well, and so there are some big pieces that are still out there for Tennessee football, but this class is starting to pick up some steam. There have been a couple of different 4 stars that have committed over the last couple of weeks. The football program, if you didn't know, has these big events that they'll do over. I want to say it started 3 weekends ago. Next weekend should be the last one, but they do these big events where they bring in all these guys in on official visits. They'll bring in guys on unofficial visits, things like that. And one of those guys was like Malik Howard, who was here 2 weekends ago for, I want to say it was like a barbecue thing that they did, and then came back for his official visit last weekend when Dylan Gabriel Georges was here. And so, there's a lot going on there. But one of the big news in May, big pieces of news in May, was that Kenneth Simon, the son of VFL Kevin Simon, had committed inside the SEC, not at Tennessee, but at Alabama. And that was this whole thing about how it turned into kind of, what is Josh Heupel doing wrong? What's going on here? Is there beef? Blah, blah, blah. Well, Logan, over the weekend, Kenneth Simon announced that he was staying home. And Tennessee looks like they are going to go. Now, you never say never until they're on campus, because that's just the day and age we live in. But it looks like that the Vols are going to go 2 for 3 on Tennessee legacies in this class, with Kenneth Simon, JP Peace, who is it Peace or Pierce?
Peace. JP okay. Peace. His dad played for Coach Fulmer at Tennessee.
Yeah.
And Fulmer's his granddad.
Yes. Good job by JP's dad, to play for Coach and then get Coach's daughter, real smooth.
Yeah, I'd say it's bold.
Yeah. And so you get those two, and then, like you and I were talking before we hit record, you had Witten
the most
locked
frustrating
in.
one.
Like that was
Cooper Witten should be in orange.
Right. And, if you missed it, Jason Witten got hired to be a tight ends coach at Oklahoma. And so, that you were in a really good shot to go 3 for 3 on legacies. And, what's really exciting is that there's maybe not something that gets talked about a ton, but that stretch of the late 90s, early 2000s teams, all those athletes, those guys are going to keep having kids. They're going to keep growing up, and like I know one, and I don't know if he here in the mid-state, I know he's playing both football and basketball. I don't know where he ranks, but I know I've been around him since he was in 4th grade at a day camp that I worked at here. But Ramon Foster's kid is huge, and I don't know what sport he's going to pursue, if he's going to pursue a sport at all. But it's like there are more of these legacies that are going to keep popping up, and so Tennessee's going to have these opportunities with all that. So all that to say, this class has picked up some steam. They've signed Derek Baker, who's currently a 3-star QB, but he plays at Milton. Do I have that right? No, he plays at Buford. There we go. It's one of the big Georgia schools, like a national powerhouse, and he's a 3-star.
Well,
you watch his film, and I mean, he should jump to a 4-star.
Well, and he's one of those two. A Georgia 3-star
right.
is like a Midwestern high 4-star.
Right.
Like he's a high-level quarterback, high-level player.
No, he is. And I mean, you watch. He plays at Milton. I was right the first time, but you watch him, and we've talked about him before. But I'm really excited about this sign, because I think it's going to get better with age. And so all that to say, this class has picked up some good steam. They are the Vols rank 38th right now in recruiting, according to 247. So 38th overall. And, that's only with 15 commits and no 5-stars. So let's transition to that. I talked a lot. So, Logan, I'm going to throw this to you. Dylan Gabriel Georges is a running back.
Gabriel Georges.
Did I say Dylan? My bad.
Yeah.
David Gabriel Georges, DGG, as we'll refer to him from this point on. He is at Baylor School in Chattanooga. He's been there for a while. And it is between Tennessee and Ohio State. Ohio State fans and boards think that they have the edge. Tennessee fans are optimistic. The guys, honestly, at this point, Austin Price would be the one that has probably the best look at this. He has confidence on where Tennessee is, but keeps saying it's a 50-50 shot. And so, Logan, this feels like a big fish that Tennessee has to get, that Heupel has to catch. And to the point to where if Heupel gets this commitment, it could cool down any hot seat conversation heading into 2027 because you've at least got DGG coming in. If he doesn't get him, then it puts a little bit more pressure, seems like, on the 2026 season to potentially have a cooler conversation around any hot seat conversation in 2027. Is that something you would agree with, disagree with? Like, this just seems like there is a lot more to this recruitment than just landing a highly talented player.
I mean, I don't think that's fair. I don't know why people would think that, because that's just so reactionary. Because, I mean, you're a year away from, like, you're a year gone from you had the number one player in the country who's on your campus right now, and you had the number two wide receiver in the country commit to you, flip to you, who's on your campus right now. So, like, you have gotten players of this caliber.
Yeah.
Now, some people are saying like this is the best or maybe the second or third best running back prospect they've ever seen, stuff like that. And I get it, but it's like, and I think people don't have this expectation too of like, oh, well, he goes to the Baylor school. Well, he's a transplant. Like he's only here
Right.
because he was destroying competition in Canada.
Right.
Like he has no connection to Tennessee outside of the fact that Tennessee's an hour and a half down the road, and he has two
And
really good friends that played with him at the Baylor school that are on the roster now.
Yeah.
Um,
Is it 2 or 3?
so two.
I thought there was.
We went back and forth about Joakim Dotson, but he I think was at the Baylor school before DGG was there,
Okay.
and then went transferred to Memphis to Cargill.
Germantown. Oh, Cargill. That's right.
Germantown. One of them.
No, it was
in that area.
Cargill. It was Cargill.
Um. So. Yeah. No. I mean, I don't think like because at the end of the day, whether you get him or not in July, if you go 6-6 this year or you go 9-3 this year, that's really what's going to dictate everything.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to care about DGG if you're 9-3, 10-2.
Yeah.
To be honest, not to what they make it seem like they are right now.
But do you think that they will care a little bit less about a 6-6 or 7-5 record if you've got DGG coming in? With
I don't.
If the offense shows a pulse, like if there is good signs, you just lose 6 games by less than 10 points. Do you think that it simmers some conversation of is Heupel the right man for the job?
I mean, I don't see why it would if Fazion and Tristan Keys didn't do that this year.
Well, that's fair. That's a good point.
I mean, like especially when Fazion and Tristan Keys are much more important positions. Like to be honest with you, DGG plays the least important position in Josh Heupel's offense.
Correct.
As long as you have a guy that has a little bit of wiggle to him and can move a little bit, like there's going to be lanes open.
Right.
So as long as you have somewhat of an ability at running back, I mean, you can just look at Jabari Small. And Jabari Small's a good running back. Don't get me wrong, right? But if you look at all the running backs Josh Heupel's had, Jabari Small's by far been the worst, probably.
Yeah, and he was still almost 1,000-yard rusher.
I would say he was pretty dang successful here.
Yeah. And that's not to say he was bad. It's just in comparison, you've got Jalen Wright ahead of him, Dylan Sampson behind him, Deshaun Bishop behind him. Like, it just was just how it broke out.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I don't think it should do all that. I mean, is it going to stink? Yeah. Or you're going to have the people like, oh, Heupel can't win the big recruiting battle. He can't get the big fish. Blah 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 blah. Even though he signed multiple top 10 recruits.
Yeah.
He got Tristan Keys. He got David Hobbs. David Hobbs was a 5-star.
Right.
You know, he got there's somebody I'm forgetting.
I mean, McIntyre was a 5-star until he wasn't.
Yeah.
Nico.
Oh, he got David Sanders.
Yeah, like
Ohio State for David Sanders. So
yeah.
it's like it's just kind of people are just going to find ways to complain, but everything that you see makes you feel really good about Tennessee's chances. So I don't even know if we're going to have to worry about that.
Yeah, and we may not. There's no way to know. He keeps it close to the vest. I saw Ohio State fans. Somehow Ohio State just got all up in my X feed or Twitter, depending on what you call it. And it was interesting. They were like, oh, all he wore was Ohio State at his Ohio State visit. And then, said that him wearing whatever he wanted at Tennessee was different. I'm like, but Ohio State strikes me as a type of school to hand a kid their stuff and say, put it on because we're
Yeah.
the Ohio State. Whereas I think, based on everything that we heard from On Three, some different things I've seen from other outlets, it was a very calm
Low
visit,
key.
low key, just made it feel like home for DGG, and and they brought in Alvin Kamara, which he said is one of his, if not his favorite player. I can't remember what the exact quote was, but it's just, what better guy to bring in than Kamara, who, outside of, if he could win a Super Bowl, he'd be up there in the conversation around greats. Maybe not top 10,
One of the best to ever do it. Yeah.
but definitely top 25 running backs in NFL history. I don't know that there are 25 better running backs in NFL history than him, just with his versatility. Definitely the greatest fantasy pick for years. And
I
so,
only got him 1 year because they were picking just to spite me.
but yeah, so there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic, to think that good things can happen there. And I think one thing that can give you some more optimism is just a little fella named DJ Jacobs, which, if you haven't been paying attention, he is the number one
There ain't
rated.
nothing little about him.
No, he is the number one rated player according to 247, and he is an edge player from Roswell, Georgia. He is 6'5", 235. He's a 5-star, number one player in the class. His dad, which I don't know his dad's name, do you? Put you on the spot.
Nope. I saw it the other day, and I don't remember what it is.
But it doesn't matter, because what matters is the fact that his dad played for the one and only Coach Rodney Garner while Rodney Garner was at Georgia. And so, if you're not going to follow in your dad's footsteps and go to the same school, you may be likely to go play for the same coach. So
David Jacobs.
David Jacobs, nice. I wonder if DJ is David Jr. But anyways, staying focused. DJ Jacobs also last week signed to Adidas as a player. Now, Logan, does that second part sound familiar to you?
It does.
Why does it sound familiar?
Because that's what happened with Tristan Keys.
And so,
And yeah, Tristan Keys did it.
Tristan Keys was committed to LSU, signed to Adidas, and then a couple weeks later flipped to Tennessee. Tennessee may be in a position to do the same thing with DJ Jacobs. Now, I would be curious to know if Penn State had retained everyone there and hadn't gone through their coaching change, if Penn State would be more in play here. But we've already heard murmurs about the fact that TK Keys had some incentives from Adidas to go to an Adidas school. And so it could be a similar situation where Adidas is going to help Tennessee sign DJ Jacobs, along with the fact that Rodney Garner has known him pretty much his entire life, according to, I know Austin Price has said it, I've heard it a couple other places, but I want to make sure we give credit where credit is due because we don't steal things. And so there is a lot of reason to be hopeful that this flip can happen. With that being said, Logan, I feel a little bit more confident about DGG if DJ Jacobs flips to Tennessee before, I believe DGG's date is July 22nd. Because I would be floored if a current 5-star flipped from one school to another and a player deciding between those same two schools didn't follow in the similar footsteps. Obviously, two different sides of the ball, two different positions, two different coaches.
Not
all
much
of
of a
that.
connection. Yeah.
Right. But there would at least be conversation like, hey, why are you picking Tennessee over Ohio State ultimately? And so there's a lot of reason to be optimistic that this class could potentially add 2 5-stars to it. And I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think that Derek Baker will make the jump from 3 to 5-star, but I mean, he'll flirt with it. I mean, he's got the tools. Like, he looks incredible, and he's playing at one of the biggest high schools in Georgia. So overall, this class has a lot of things to be excited about. And, it's one of those things where you land DJ Jacobs, and I mean, man, like, what does the outlook for both sides of the ball look like if you get both of these guys?
Oh, I mean, well, it changed the whole narrative of the class, right? Like, I mean, you're talking about an impact freshman at a position of need. They're going to need defensive line help next year.
They need it this
Um,
year.
shoot, you're not wrong. So, I mean, yeah. So you're talking about an impact player at a position of need on both sides of the ball. Because maybe Deshaun has a good year and he's gone after this year, especially playing running back. They don't want to, the earlier you can get to the NFL, the better with all the miles on your legs, um, and the beating you take. So I mean, it'd be huge. It would change the narrative of this class. It would change the narrative around. I think it would continue to change the narrative around Heupel. Like I think last year was really good for it, getting Fazion,
As
getting
far as around
Kristen
recruiting,
Keys. Yeah, around the program about not being able to get the big fish or things like that, which is just not even true anyways. But it is what it is. Um, so yeah, I mean, and whether you can recruit, whether the narrative is you can't recruit or you can recruit, it's always a massive deal if you get a top five player. He's number four on three, number one on 247. You know, there's a lot of work to do till December, even if you get him to flip. There's a rumor going around message boards and things like that they're getting another flip tomorrow at noon. That would
would
maybe one you think it could be. It could be Tayshaun Poole from Florida State, the safety.
yeah,
Could be the wide receiver from Florida State. Whatever his name is that I just blanked on. So I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities, but yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge deal, and uh, there's very few teams. There's a couple, but there's very few teams that I would enjoy taking recruits from more than Ohio State. Just to be honest with you.
right. Well, especially with just the arrogance of that school. I mean, I guess they have semi good reason, but yeah, it would be great to take two, not one, but two, but and three over the last 3 years, 5 stars from Ohio State. So, but speaking of 5 stars, Logan, Tennessee has two former 5 stars at quarterback in their quarterback room. They may not have been 5 stars when the final rankings were announced, but Faison Brandon and George McIntyre are both 5 star QBs at one point in their recruitment process. Both of them faced injury that prevented them from playing a full year in their senior year. And so you think that that may be some of the reason that their rankings knocked down, but who cares? We are where we are now. And so we've got a quarterback battle going on. And, that's not anything new. But, I don't, if I wanted to read a transcript and kind of discuss from there, from Friday's show of Josh and Swain, Joel Silverberg filling in for Josh Ward, and a question was brought up about stacking the quarterback room and whether or not George McIntyre would be here next year and things like that. And so they read off the question, and Joel says, Faison hasn't officially been named the starter yet. Swain cuts him off and says that's just semantics. Semantics. Swain goes on to say, yeah, I mean, I think all the signs point to Faison being the guy unless something happens during the course of the summer or fall camp. He goes on to talk about the future of the QB room if that were to happen, things like that. Brings up Ryan Staub. Maybe Staub has an opportunity next year, things like that. And he comes back and says, we don't know, but it's trending towards him, talking about Staub, being a backup his time here at Tennessee. And Swain talks about how that may be something that Staub wants to get into coaching, things like that. He continues and says, and so if Faison does what I think people think he's going to do for Tennessee, he's going to start. He's going to start next year. And what does that mean for the room? And he concludes by saying, if I had to put my money on it, I would say, all right, you're going to have probably a true freshman as a backup next year with a true sophomore as your starting quarterback in Faison. If I had to put money on it, and I was forced to do it, he would name Faison Brandon as the starter. So, Logan, that doesn't seem earth-shattering if you've been following Josh and Swain. Swain's kind of hinted at he thought Faison has the momentum. He thinks Faison will keep the momentum, things like that. But he's also said that there's very much still an opportunity for George to win this job and to come back from summer and be impressive and be able to take that next step. But I think it's interesting that someone like Swain, who has all of the access that he does to the locker room, to players, to he was part of this big recruiting weekend that DGG was just at, things like that. He's very connected to the program, and so for him to say this, to me, tells me that there may be more momentum for Fazion to take over as starting quarterback than maybe we originally thought.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like I think the most interesting part of that for me is that that Swain just says it's semantics, right?
Right.
Like he's that, not I mean, he's also kind of hedges his bet a little bit by saying, I mean, there's still opportunity, which, I mean, he's not wrong. There is an opportunity for George to,
Right.
make up ground and things like that. But like, because that's a guy that's around the program too. Like he
Right.
gets to go to practice. He's with the Vol Network. Like, so I'm a, I mean, I can see it from the standpoint of if they came out of the spring tide ish, that would mean that Fazion had a better spring because they went into the spring with George ahead because he's been there for a year.
Right.
So I don't know, that Fazion's been my choice mostly even from just a perception, like obviously if McIntyre just completely outperforms him, like screw perception from a recruiting standpoint, obviously.
Right.
But like, I mean, if Fazion didn't win the job, Fazion was going to be here a year and then he's gone. You're talking about signing what was at one point the number one player in the class. He never sets foot on the field for you, then he transfers out.
Right.
Like that. So it's like, that's why I was hoping he would come in and just, as much as I wanted George to be successful, like I think it would have been really cool to see George McIntyre be the quarterback at Tennessee. Like Fazion was always the one that I wanted, because I mean, like, and it's not even George's fault that he didn't show us much last year because they didn't really give him a chance to. But like,
right.
You can't take anything he did in that spring game last year for anything, and then he didn't get really any opportunities in the season to do anything. So, it's just one of those things where Fazion's been my pick from the beginning that I was hoping it was going to happen. I think it best sets up for your future because you get him for 3 years, whereas George, if it goes well, you're only there for 2. So yeah, I mean, I think if Swain's saying that, then that's probably who the starter is going to be because I think he's more connected than a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's probably what's best for the program, anyways.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that it's very interesting, and I think it's just telling. Like I had a moment. I can't remember. I think I was on a walk, pushing my son in a stroller or something like that, and when Swain said semantics, I was like, oh, semantics, okay, because that means that you already talked about it, but I mean, really, like that is Swain's way of saying this is over, barring something crazy, this is over, which makes sense, and I think that we've touched on it at points, but I think just the fact that Fazion knows how to win, and that's not to say that George doesn't, but Fazion's proven he knows how to win in back-to-back state titles as a starting quarterback. It's telling, and I think that, you talked about how McIntyre wasn't given the opportunity to go out there and show us what he had. But that also means that McIntyre didn't give them reason to put him out there. Like you can't put a guy out there and let himself go get hurt. Because if he misreads something in this offense that's so RPO heavy, he misreads something, he keeps a ball that he needs to hand off or he needs to throw, and then he gets his bell rung, when he's his size. Like, I understand that. I think I'd be a little bit more confused if it was like, no, like George has the clear edge here and stuff. It's like, all right, well, why wasn't he good enough to get more snaps last year? But I think the fact that Fazion's coming in and has had a better spring and according to Swain, is in the lead to take the job tells me maybe that George just wasn't as ready as maybe we all hoped or thought that he would be coming in. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes. I think you're reading everything. We talked about it in the quarterback conversation last week. Where Swain talks about how it should have been Clausen over Ainge uh, because of how the locker room responded and things like that. I think about that a lot in this situation. And you see, there's a reel of a detailing service that detailed David Sanders, or both of David Sanders' vehicles, and to come pick him up, it was interesting to see who he had with him. You're talking about your starting left tackle, one of the guys that's going to be best friends with his quarterback, and the guy he had with him was Fazion, not George. And so I'm like, all right, does that mean the locker room dynamic is leaning towards Fazion as well? And that might be something that Swain's seeing too, because it is like if you're looking for tie breaks and they're producing similarly on the field, but the locker room is really behind one guy, you got to follow where the locker room goes. It's what they did with Joey, and I'm assuming it's what they're going to continue to do here.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think Joey separated himself for sure last year, but I mean, guys got behind that, and
Right.
and like you said, you made points to say the Ainge club, like that's what you don't want, right? And
Right.
'cause this team's not near as talented as that '05 team that was between Eric Ainge and Rick Clausen, and we see how that went, and they go
Right.
5-7, and it was basically the beginning of the end of the former era in Knoxville. So yeah, I mean, you have to. The guys know, right? Like the coaches know, but all the players know too. They've been around this game long enough. They do this long
Yeah.
enough. They play with them. They know who's better.
Yeah.
You got a lot of money in both these guys, so it's not like you got to play a guy because you got a lot of money into him, because you're paying them both a lot of money.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it sounds like that Fazion's probably gonna be your starter day one. Again, we have about, I don't know, 85-ish days, probably something like that.
Yeah. Somewhere out
No
there.
football. So there's still a lot of time
Yeah.
for that to change.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I don't necessarily know that it's going to.
Right. No, I agree, and I think that it's going to be really interesting to see. I'll be interested to see what the fan base's reaction is when it's announced one way or the other. I think it's probably going to be pretty similar, but
I think everyone. I think the majority's Fazion.
I agree at this point. I think at first, a lot of people were like me, where it's like, oh no, it needs to be George McIntyre. But then, the more that you go watch film and things like that, it's just like, well, maybe Fazion is the better option. Long-term investment-wise, Fazion is the better option. You could have them both here the same amount of years, but you've been able to. I don't know. I guess that point is a moot point. No, technically you could lose George in 2 years. So investment-wise, Fazion is the better option.
Fazion's guaranteed 3. You're only guaranteed 2 with George.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see, and be interesting to watch what happens with the recruiting trail and all that. And we'll be here watching it, picking it up. Basketball had some media availability, hearing good things there from those guys, and so we'll get to talk more about that and baseball and the portal and all of that. Tennessee's had some interesting guys commit or say they're coming back just to turn around and leave. But really, there's just only one. But we'll talk about that on a different episode. But Logan, you got anything else before we wrap?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, we appreciate you all listening. We'll catch you next time. See ya.